advantage of. So let's start there first. Just to set the stage for people who don't know. All right, just real quick, just give me a couple of minutes. I think this will be helpful. You're going to hear
Right.
these names a lot. Nick Fuentes is a young white, described America First white Christian nationalist, part of the incel movement, who said having sex with women is gay. A 4chan shit talker, which is how most of the young Republicans are, right? It's a 4chan board come to life. That's what they are. They're like trolls. They're teenage Call of Duty trolls who've basically grown up and decided to make that their professional identity. Okay, this guy used to troll Charlie Kirk when Charlie Kirk was alive, and the Groypers, which is part of his movement, used to troll him at his Talking Points USA events for not being far right enough. They saw him as a sellout to the establishment, to corporate money, to Israel, and they thought he wasn't extreme enough in the America First white Christian nationalist movement. That's how they got to power. They also have hated Ben Shapiro for precisely those reasons, as also for being a cuck for Israel. Now, people are like, they're fringe. We can control them. It's the extreme member of MAGA. They're annoying. They're all in line. They're incels. They're losers, right? Okay. 2.5 years ago, Donald Trump decides to dine with Kanye West post anti-Semitic rant. And Kanye West brings Nick Fuentes along with him to the White House. Excuse me, to dine. I never forgot that. I wrote an article about that. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me see if Donald Trump's going to condemn him. Now, Lev, as you remember, after there was like 2 days worth of controversy, everyone was talking about Kanye, Kanye, Kanye. I was more interested in Nick Fuentes. I'm like, what is Nick Fuentes doing there, right? And so then they asked Donald Trump, Lev, well, do you condemn Nick Fuentes, a neo-Nazi, a man who praises Hitler, a white Christian nationalist, a person who makes Holocaust jokes? And Donald Trump did what he did a couple of days ago. Huh? Who? Nick Fuentes? Who's CZ? Huh? Binance? I don't know anything. What? And everyone just dropped the story. I never dropped the story, Lev.
Yeah.
I've been on that story. I'm like, ask even now. I say anyone who's a reporter. If I ever got baby, is that one of your kids?
Yeah. She's
It's
just
okay.
getting
He's one of the
home from
7
school.
kids. We love babies. This is baby friendly zone. I've been telling reporters, as Donald Trump, you condemn Nick Fuentes. Oh, hey, which one is this?
This is the littlest one. This is baby Olivia. Say hi.
Hi, how old are you, girl?
It,
3? Did your baba get you candy on Halloween? Yeah, good.
lots of candy.
Make
All
he.
right, you gotta
You
go
know
eat
what? He promised me he'd give you a toy.
it.
Uh, so Nick. Now
Sorry.
we saw something so cute. Now we have to talk about something so ugly. So
Okay.
Nick Fuentes, folks, has been growing and growing, and Nick Fuentes last week. Just to set the stage for everyone. Last week, Kevin Roberts, who is the face of Heritage Foundation. Heritage Foundation is a conservative think tank, the conservative think tank that published Project 2025. He did a 4-minute video announcing that he is allied with Tucker Carlson and he's not going to condemn him. Everyone, all the normies are like, what's happening? I was paying attention to this. Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes were at each other. Tucker Carlson sees where the wind is blowing. Tucker Carlson invites Nick Fuentes on his show, and they have a detente, a rapprochement, if you will. So everyone's like, Kevin, Heritage Foundation, conservatives, throw Tucker under the bus for mainstreaming Nick Fuentes. And Kevin Roberts said, we like Tucker Carlson. And now you're seeing a massive civil war over the past week where you're seeing POC MAGA like Dinesh D'Souza. Oh, I love it so much. He's melting down. He goes, I helped create this movement. Why are they so racist? They're saying, go back to India, Dinesh, right? I'm like, leopards eat faces. You're seeing the pro right wing Israel, pro Netanyahu movement, all freaking out. Ben Shapiro, Barry Weiss, Laura
Laura.
Loomer, right? You see Douglas Murray now being enlisted to go attack Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes, meanwhile, is trolling JD Vance. And then today, apparently, data came out that 40%, Lev, of young Republicans are groypers, part of the Nick Fuentes movement. So forgive me all for spending 5 minutes on that. What's common to me and Lev isn't common to anyone, but this is a massive civil war happening in MAGA. And the irony is MAGA now are rhinos of the past. You know this movement better, Lev. Fill in the blanks. What did I miss?
I mean, you do such a great job connecting the dots. Why it's hard to say what you miss, and that's why it's so. I mean, but we've been talking about. I mean, you especially have been covering this Groper movement, and one of the things I wanted to talk about is, which nobody's mentioning now, is remember the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Remember where we when that assassination happened, when they were trying to say this was a far left individual, we came out on your show, I think, and we spoke about how this was an individual was not far left. He wasn't. He wasn't as far, was farther right than Charlie Kirk even was, because he was a groper. He was following, Nick Fuentes's, and now you're seeing the breakups. But this is just one of many breakups in the MAGA movement that we're seeing. This is one of many cracks, and that we've been exposing, from the Epstein files to the Groper situation to the Nick Fuentes, and that's why I think what we're seeing today, and hopefully what we'll see later on when the results come in, is a major response to what is happening around the country. And because I think we as a country, as human beings, are tired of just talking. I think it's time. Today is like the first day where we
Yep.
actually come out and do action. For the past week, I've gotten to a point where I got so frustrated. Well, I'm like, enough with the warnings, enough with the talking. They've shown us enough. We scream at the top of our lungs. I mean, you see all the breakups, but we need to start doing something about it, and we need to start responding. And I think today is going to be a great day in the beginning to allow those responses. But with that said, you're 100% right. The breakup, the cracks are happening. I mean, just recently you saw Laura Loomer and
Yep.
Roger Stone, who were best buddies. They're both from down here. Watching them, having Laura Loomer have a meltdown over her response to Tucker Carlson,
Yep.
while Roger Stone was on, and having Roger Stone come on and say Laura Loomer needs a psychiatrist.
Yep.
This is great stuff. This is great to watch, because what they're trying to do to us, what they're trying to do is happening inside them. You have actual MAGA, like hardcore people, like also Diligent is a guy that goes on and does these spaces. You have him literally going to where Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and they're literally going to meet with his grandmother. Not with Charlie Kirk's grandmother, but with the shooter's alleged grandmother, their family. They themselves, MAGA and the MAGA movement, are doing more investigative work, showing more of how the conspiracy of the Charlie Kirk assassination and how it wasn't done by the left, how the cover up is happening by the current administration, than we ourselves, I mean, that our own side is doing. It's incredible. So and I think that's one of the main things the media is missing out on. That's why I think it's so important for what you're doing, Waj, by keeping the eye on the ball, as I say it. Don't watch all this theatrics, but watch all of these things, all of these cracks that are happening inside. We need somebody to start collecting them, somebody to start acting, and hopefully today will be, the first move to, showing our voices, how loud we are.
I think so. There's two things happening, folks. Look, things are really bad. Things are going to get worse. We'll talk about it. But we also have to talk about resistance. I had Ruth Ben-Ghiat on just an hour ago. For those who know, expert in authoritarianism, researched Mussolini, Hitler, wrote the book Strong Man. And we were discussing how the acceleration is something that's unprecedented. The shock to the system. Trump and MAGA, they like young kids who got too much candy and decided to eat it, and they did too much too quickly. And I think they did it also because they realized the people aren't with them, and I think they also are doing it because they realized Trump won't be around for much longer. He's not well off. So this overreach. And the overreach, you're seeing now a response to the overreach, Lev. People are like, I didn't vote for ICE agents terrorizing children. I didn't vote for friggin' $40 billion to be given to Milei of Argentina, and for the East Wing to be completely demolished, and for a Great Gatsby party, and for Kash Patel to use taxpayer dollars to go on a $60 million jet for his honeypot girlfriend, and for Kristi Noem to get $172 million. I voted for friggin' grocery prices to come down. Meat is friggin' expensive as hell. Electricity prices are friggin' through the roof. Trump is making $5 billion off of crypto. What the F? I don't have any money. I didn't vote for any of this shit, right? What the hell? All these Nazis, all these freaks, all these groypers, JD Vance spending most of his time online just trolling. That's all they've become, Liv. They just troll. Mike Lee trolls, Ted Cruz trolls. It's an entire movement of trolls. But what they don't realize, Lev, is the world isn't like them. I think that's what happens with power is once you get powerful, you become removed from the majority and you surround yourselves with people who think like you and you think everyone's like that. And I feel like Lev, they're stuck in their own bubble and they get the likes and the tweets and the retweets from all these like, friggin' like immature, like
Yeah.
radicalized trolls and bots and young people. And they think, oh yeah, everyone's happy. But people are like, dude, the government shut down. In Virginia, people are like at food banks.
That
And so
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're 1,000,000% right, and that's where I think is our advantage, and is in what you're saying is they're in their own echo chamber. What Elon Musk created for them with that X platform, that it's exactly where they rush. We have a government officials that rush to make announcements on X to be able to get those likes, to get to be able to get all of those MAGA. Then they are out there to thinking strategically what the country is. But that's the whole thing is we don't have a government right now. We don't have government officials that are out there trying for their constituents or for the country. Even their own Republicans, they're out there. They've all become reality stars. They've all become, trollers. They all want to try to be like Donald Trump. If you've noticed what's called to make the jokes, to get more radical than others, to hurt somebody, their own people more than others. And that is and what I keep saying from day one, and I keep saying it, why it's more than we're just seeing in it. It's a major cult that is
Yeah.
happening, that this MAGA is because of what they're doing. And it's true. I mean, just think of it. And that's why their messages are so strong, is because you have all of these trolls, like you have actual governors, you have actual attorney generals, you have actual congressmen, senators going out there perpetrating the lies, perpetrating the trolls, attacking common folk. You could have a regular individual, a citizen, American citizen, make a comment, and then on that comment, you could have actual government officials like Christine Ohm, the head of the DHS, respond to you. You know how scary that could be, like for a regular citizen. All of a sudden, you're saying, like, "What are you saying? We're gonna go." Like you have Stephen Miller's wife, Katie, going on. Pierce Morgan. Did you see that one? Where she's
Dude, can I just tell you real quick?
yeah.
I want you to explain what happened for those who didn't see, but sometimes the universe looks after me. I was supposed to be on that panel. I didn't know who was on that panel, but I got busy. Thank God I wasn't on that panel, Liv.
I'll tell you. Actually, I'm trying to put together a panel. Like I want to go after these guys like Benny Johnson and stuff like that on this same thing. So, but yeah, it was crazy. You had a panel of people. What was his name?
Piers Morgan invited my friend Omar Badar. It was Cenk, Katie Miller, and some other right wing dude.
Right, right. So basically, Katie Miller gets it with Chang and over nothing. He didn't insult her. He didn't. He said something about her husband, Stephen Miller. About him being liked or not liked, and nothing. She goes on off on a tantrum, basically on live television, threatening
Yep.
an American citizen to take away his citizenship. To say we're going to take a look at seeing how your citizenship paperwork, and then right after that, playing victim, running out and saying, we're being attacked and moving their family to a military base, folks. So this is what they're doing. They're coming out, they're attacking us, running to a military base. Now you're actually, you got Stephen Miller and his family living on a military base, wanting
Yep.
protection to paint that, it's really sick to see what's happening and the way they're playing the system.
Well,
Watch.
yeah, I mean, but it was I'm glad you mentioned that because it's such a great distillation of what MAGA is. Completely insecure online bullies who can dish it but can't take it, right? Weak knees and weak jaws, deeply broken people who back in the day, well, even if you play video games, they used to hide, right? When you played Call of Duty multiplayer, they're like these teenagers hiding behind their headsets, talking all sorts of shit because realizing, oh, they could be anonymous. But when you met them in person, paper tigers, right? But now it's like a 4chan come to life. They're basically a 4chan poster come to life. They shit post in real time, and they get, if you will, their reward, their validation from how many of the fellow trolls sit there and go, "You said the thing, you said the thing." And if you don't believe me, folks, look at JD Vance, for Halloween wearing that wig, making the face, and then the rest of us are like, "What the f? We're laughing at you, not with you." He goes, "No, bro, he's in on the joke. He did it. He's our king." And we're like, "What the hell? You're the vice president, right?" Or Mike Lee, or Ted Cruz. They're all become shit posters, but all of them can dish it. They can't take it. They want safe spaces for themselves and no safe spaces for the rest of us, right? And they're so weak that she literally melted down and threatened to denaturalize Cenk Uyghur. And now all of them are living on army bases. Stephen Miller is, Christy Nome is, and that ballroom, that $300 million ballroom, also serves as a bunker. So that to me is a tell, Lev, that they know their agenda is not popular. They know the people are waking up. They know the people are sick and tired of the oligarchy. Have you seen the polls that came out? I haven't talked to you for a while, about 2, 3 weeks. Do you see the polls that have come out this week?
I didn't see the last ones, but I mean, each poll was 60, 70%,
Well,
though
yeah,
some
yeah.
of it was
So
extreme.
the ABC poll had him at 41%, but then the CNN poll came out yesterday, had him at 37% approval, which ties
37.
the Economist one. Over 60% of Americans are dissatisfied. And he's lower now than he was in his first administration. And he's negative double digits on the economy, on inflation, on jobs, and now on immigration.
Well, they know it. That's why, that's why we keep raising the alarm bells because if you take a look at the things that he's doing, he's not doing these things. He's not building a ballroom for the next guy to come in and use it. He's not going out there building this Rose Garden mega, club at $500,000 a pop because he's going to want to pass it on to the next guy. These are all things. And he's not stupid. They're watching everything play out. They know the polls. They see the polls. They know they don't care. Because what they're trying to do, and this is what we keep talking about, they're going to try to rig the elections. They're going to try to, intimidate the elections. They're going to try to do whatever. I mean, look, he just think about what, we keep warning you about Venezuela. By the way, I spoke to some of my sources. They're telling me that now what they're hearing is not a full out invasion, but definitely strikes on the table type of stuff. You know what I'm saying to you? Or with invasion. So he's still going, it's like we're day to day maybe attacking Venezuela. And now he's come out saying that he's going to go protect Christians, not Americans. Think about it. It's just Christians in Nigeria that are getting slaughtered because of a thing that he saw on Fox while he was traveling down to Mar-a-Lago, not because he got some intelligence report, but because that's what he's decided he's going to go do now in Nigeria, and he's going to rain all hell on them. Because why is because he's a bully? This is what he could do. These are all of these things lined up because at the end of the day, in his mind, and you saw it play out. And I'll remind you where he said it. Where if you keep watch that replay of that clip when he was sitting with Vladimir Zelensky,
Yeah.
and Zelensky got asked a question about elections during the war. He said because part of their plan was to get rid of Vladimir Zelensky during this whole thing, and he said you're not. And the reporter was Brian Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend because it was a setup question where they told Zelensky you're not going to have elections during the war, and Trump turned around and said, very interesting. So you're saying that if we have a war going on here, or if we're attacked, there's no election. And Zelensky responded to him, said,
I
"Wouldn't you
remember that.
like that?" I mean, it was blatant to see what I mean back then what he was even talking about. That's why that's why it's so important about what's happening today, because he's trying whatever to do to be able to disrupt the elections that are happening in certain places by getting involved. And again, it's not, and this is what is it. It's not a matter of if you like the candidate or you don't. We live in America, and a place where what's called free elections, free voices, and for a sitting president to interfere in any of them, to be able to put his thumb on any of that is very very dangerous. And again, what we're seeing play out, but again, like you said, they're underwater. They all know, and that's why what happens when a ship starts sinking, the rats start fleeing first. So as this ship keeps sinking, you're going to see people like the Stephen Millers. They're going to start running first to try and save them. So that's why he's already at a military base. Just think about it. He's the number one person out there threatening people out there with, if you take a look at his little Gerber speeches that he keeps making, practicing in front of the every morning in front of the and now he's
Yeah,
out there
that's what
protecting himself.
Katie said that. That Steven gets up every day and like a freak. He does his speech, and but yeah, but I think they don't realize, and speaking about the election, I don't know if you've been following on social media. They are melting down today. They are melting down, Lev, because not only is it very clear, it seems that Mamdani is going to win, which is driving them insane, but also the new governor, Mickey Sherrill, might win in New Jersey. And so now they're doing conspiracy theories about leftists attacking polls and violence at the polls in New Jersey, folks, because they're desperate, because it seems like she might pull it off. We'll see. We're recording this at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, so let's give it a couple hours. But so far, the polls indicate that not only will Mamdani beat Cuomo and Sliwa despite an unprecedented infusion of right wing money, billionaire money, just the worst, folks. Even if you don't like Muslims and Islam, okay, well, meet some more Muslims. But if even if you don't, okay, the type of Islamophobia and anti-Muslim bigotry in the past 2 weeks, folks, is something that I would hope anyone here watching would be like, that's just wrong. And they've thrown everything at Mamdani, just the most hateful stuff, Lev. And it seems like he's going to win.
They're getting a taste of their own medicine right now. With Mandami, this is exactly what their worst fear is coming to, what's happening. That's why I said it's not about politics right now. It's not about if you agree with what Mandami is saying or what he's not saying. Because if we were living in a world where we had a magic wand, obviously we would want, normal people would want what Mandami is saying. We want food for as many people. We don't want people starving. We don't want people about that. We want equal rights. We want all of this stuff. But if you're really seeing what's happening play out between the two tails, and this is one of the things I'm going to be writing about later, is you actually right now are turning our country, separating it, because you're forced to. Each side is not for all of our country. Unfortunately, each side is now turning sides because what Trump is standing for in the far right is now what we're being pushed by what Mandami saying and the far left, because and what we're fartherly walking away from is what I think, my opinion, again, I could be wrong, but I think what made America the most powerful and the greatest country in the world is that we stayed away from the far left and the far left, and we were able to combine and have the unity of being able to be, yes, we could have our beliefs, we want progression, some people want the other, but when it came down to it, we had the humanity, or whatever what the right word is, to be able to join to agree on such simple things like being able to have constitutional rights, being able to want better for everybody and not. But now you're seeing it play out where it's like you have to choose a side. You have to either be for the poor people, you have to either be for the rich people, and that is what Donald Trump has created in this country, is that division where we're missing out the key fact that we're all human beings. We're not born as a Democrat or Republican. We're born, we bleed the same way, we all eat the same, we put on our pants the same way. I mean, and we need to start realizing that that's what made our country great so much, and the diversity is great, and that's what made America such a beautiful and such a great country. And stop choosing the sides and that's why they're getting a taste of their own medicine right now, what they're seeing in New York, and they can't stop it. And the more they put into it, the more it's backfiring. I agree with you.
I'm gonna. Lev still has some MAGA herpes. By the time I'm done with Lev, I'm gonna convert him and win him over. Just trust me, folks. Have faith in me. I could see that MAGA herpes flare up a little bit with Lev. He's freaked out about Mamdani, but don't worry. My take on this is what this is what we're witnessing, folks. This is my take, Lev, and I appreciate you being. You're coming at it from your angle. I see it. This is my angle. Um, Donald Trump has exposed the rotten fissures in this country that were gone unacknowledged. Specifically, white supremacy, racism, and unfettered capitalism and greed, where the rich get richer and now everyone gets poorer. Inevitably, there was going to be a response. The response was by the Democratic Party to bring in Biden. Biden was supposed to be the stopgap. But unfortunately, what Biden did was restoration. And people, if you just see the people, like if you look at young people now, Lev, and you got kids, all the data shows young people are like, oh, you're telling me to be a capitalist? What has capitalism done for me? You're telling me to be a Democrat? What has Democrats done for me? You've told me a Republican? What has that done for me? Sure. Democratic Socialist? Fine. Let me try that out. And then you're seeing, which I think is far, far more destructive, is this radicalization within MAGA. Let's embrace just full on fascism, right? And so there's going to be a response, a counter response. And I think what we're witnessing is, you're going to see the majority now be like, whoever is willing to fight on affordability and anyone who's willing to take on the oligarchy and fight, I'll back them. Which is why I think if you just take away the label Democratic Socialist, liberal, left, whatever, the reason why I think Mamdani is going to win and has a winning campaign is his campaign is affordability. This is not sustainable. We can't restore it back. The rich keep getting richer. And I want a New York for everyone. Now, some people are freaked out. Let's see how it works out. But I think whoever does that message, right, whether it's AOC, Bernie, anyone, I think that's the message. And also, folks, I know people might not like hearing this. Donald Trump ran on that message. Donald Trump was all bullshit, right? Because he's as establishment as it gets. But he was an anti-establishment candidate, Lev. He said, "What?
No, I
I'm
agree.
going to be a bulldozer. I'm going to come from the outside. I'll crush everything." And people are like, "Yeah," because the system no longer works. So I think as the income inequality widens, as you see more and more extremism, as you see literally Nazis being platformed in mainstreams, you're going to see young people rise up and demand reformation. My disagreement with you is I think Mamdani is not the far left candidate. I think on some economic issues, based on some people, they're like, but I do think his campaign, the reason why he will win is affordability, not throwing anyone under the bus, and letting people imagine, Lev, like if you're living in America, why shouldn't we get free buses? Like, let's try it out.
No,
Why can't we
and
make
that's
life
and that's
affordable?
and that's why I agree with you, and that's what I'm saying to you is absolutely because you have, like you said, you had Trump brought in fascism, that absolutely, like why not try this? Why not try that? Anything but fascism. And what I'm saying to you is, look, Mandami, forget about what he ran on. Forget about, and this is, we'll see how he does. And listen, God bless. Look, if he wins and he's gonna be mayor, I'm gonna give him every opportunity and every chance to be able to, because I think that's what we need to get back to. And remember that it's the people's voices that matter. And if the people chose somebody, we need to unite around whoever that is and give it a chance. And if he's not going to do what he says, then we have elections 2 years later,
I agree. I agree.
we get rid of him and we move on. And that's what we forgot about. It's not the end of the world. And that's what Donald Trump has brought into here by saying, hey, we're this is what we're going to do. And this is how the whole world is going to be like fascism, the white guy, Christianity, we only care about, the rich. We don't care about the poor. And that's what I'm saying. And the response that's coming is like, well, we need to stand up for the poor. So we're going to go against the rich. And that is not good for neither side, because at the end of the day, we all need to come together. We need to remind ourselves, and this is what my message that I keep reminding everybody in this time of craziness, in this time of war, that what is going to save us as human beings is if we remember that we need to be able to all remember first that we're all human beings. We have to come back to the reality and sometimes take some policies aside, put everything away, and start at the very beginning. We need to get rid of fascism. We need to stop this Roper movement, because we should all be able to agree on super simple things like that to be able to save what took. Just think of, we're about to celebrate 250 years of America, and think about all the great things where we've come through as Americans and all the wars we fought, from civil wars to wars outside, to be able to have freedom, to be able to have our constitutional right, to be able to be diversified as a country, to love one another, not caring caring about what color, what religion, what race. And we've lost all of that in a matter of a year. We're at a point where we're forced to choose sides and do these things. And that's what I'm saying. And that's why I think we need to try to keep that alive. And I think because of the cracks that we're getting in MAGA, and what we started off from, the things that were happening, I think, and that's where I think is the important part, is that we need to start reaching over and start bringing in the other side, start molding the middle instead of pushing farther apart inside and say, you see, well, New York's going to be like this, and Texas is going to be like this, and Florida is going to be like this, and get more radicalized by state by state. Instead, we need to unify. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Where they're
No, no,
getting.
I think, and I think, look, like in Virginia, they actually might have a trifecta. Spanberger seems like she's going to win. She's very down the road. CIA, she ran that type of campaign. That's fine. She's going to defeat Winsome Sears, who's a total freak. It seems Ghazala Hashmi is going to win as lieutenant governor. And I think Jay Jones might actually pull off an upset against Miaris because the government is shut down, because Trump overreached, right? But I do think, regardless of what flavor you do it, right? Because everyone's different. I think the winning message moving forward in this time of deep economic disparity and deep pain as the rich are getting richer and everyone's getting poorer, the winning message to me across the board, across the country, seems to be the following, Lev. I will make America affordable again for the 99%. The 1% is drinking all of our milkshake. They need to pay their taxes. They need to stop stealing. We need to make an America where everyone rises, regardless of your ethnicity, your religion, your region. We don't care. We need all of us to come together against the oligarchy, the neo-Nazis, and the fascists. And that's why you're seeing people who voted for Donald Trump in 2024 also voted for AOC. I remember AOC had an Instagram. She goes, "What the heck?" She was genuinely like, she was like, "How could you vote for me and Donald Trump?" And you're seeing now also in New York, people who voted for Donald Trump are voting for Mamdani. And what they're saying is, "I wanted a change, and this guy is a complete fraud." All right, this guy says he's going to try to make America affordable again. Let's try it out. And as Lev said, if it doesn't work out, and this is where I am, this is where I am with politicians, folks. I don't hero worship any politician. I never have. They're flawed instruments. They're human beings. I never hero worship Obama. None of them. My take is this: a politician is a tool for the people. You sharpen the tool and you make it effective to help the people. If the tool no longer helps the people, you replace them with a better tool, Lev. That's my take.
Right.
So anything else is cult, a personality and hero worship, and I think it's completely unsustainable, and you're going to get really disappointed. But I do think that's the winning message, and I think as Trump, Lev, literally the government is shut down. There's lines at food banks. I've talked to folks in Virginia who are educated government officials, people who've done their job, who are like, man, I don't know how I might be like homeless if this continues. All right. You're seeing beef prices up, grocery prices up, minimum wage is flat, electricity is going up, and Donald Trump is throwing a great Gatsby party.
It's
Historically, Lev,
crazy.
historically, anytime there's income inequality like this, there's always a violent reaction, which I'm afraid of. Like it cannot sustain itself.
You're right, and it's even crazier than that. Watch what some of my sources told me behind the scenes. So, when he wrote that, remember that tweet he wrote saying that he was going to be a hero now and have his lawyers take a look and give that back these SNAP benefits that supposedly the Democrats took away, and the courts, he doesn't know which way the courts are doing, but he's going to have his lawyers do it. They had conversation, and he literally said, F them, give
Mm,
them only half the benefits. And the reason why, think of it, I'm going to tell you now their strategy, how this is part of the project, what they're thinking is if they want to be able to take enough credit to giving enough, but don't give too much so people forget the pain that they're going through, to be able to remind them this is how sick this is, guys. This is what. So he's decided that's why, because a lot of people are reporting saying, oh, Donald Trump said he's going to give him half. There's a reason. The reason behind is the giving half the SNAP benefits is to be able to look like you're the savior, because you're still helping. You're giving more because now the campaign is we've given more than the Democrats did. Look, they shut all down. We've at least given that, but you don't give enough so people could forget the pain and suffering that they continue dealing with. That's the sick part, and
Yeah,
that's part
and
of it.
not only that, some breaking news from Washington Post 4 hours ago. Messages sent from the Trump administration suggest that furloughed workers may not be paid after the shutdown ends. They're going out of their way,
Yeah.
folks, to not give back pay to furloughed workers. And by the way, this has happened before. Republicans shut down the government. And when this happened last time, I'm in the DMV area. I could tell you that it hurt those folks, but they're like, all right, at least we'll get our back pay. Now they're being so deliberately cruel. They're like, we'll keep it shut down. And Lev, I want to ask you this. Well, we'll keep it shut down and you're not going to get any back pay. F you. So these folks, these government employees, right? These are good folks. I know them. They're educated, smart, intelligent people that you weren't working in the government who are civil servants. They don't get paid that much, folks. They need that income. And now they're at food banks. And now they're like, how am I going to pay my rent? I got a family. I literally had a conversation with someone. You would never expect that type of conversation happening from that type of person. And I'm not saying that to judge anyone, that anyone should be in that position, right? But you think, okay, a person who went to Harvard, a person who chose to go in government, a person who's working in the government for several years is now telling me, man, I don't know how to make ends meet because of this government shutdown. I can only last another month. Okay. So now they're saying we're not going to pay these people. And furthermore, you're hearing, right? The two judges basically said, I think it was Rhode Island and Massachusetts, who said, Donald Trump, you have to fund SNAP. And they said, I'm only going to partially SNAP it. Let them be hungry. Uh, Lev, there's only so much people can take. Um, Tell us about the mindset, though, the mindset of Russell Vought and this administration when it comes to helping people.
Oh, it's the opposite. It's That's the whole thing. They're not happy. What we don't we what we're talking about is maybe like a slight percentage of what's really happening behind the scenes about all I mean, we're only going to start hearing about all the things that Russell Vought has been doing while the government shutdown has been taking place, all the different programs that have been cut, all the people that have been fired. And again, this is part of the same game plan, that if you take a look, again, history repeats itself. You don't have to listen to me and watch. You could go take a look at some documentaries, read some books, look at what happened in the 40s, 30s, and prior to that. They have to cause pain. And that's why part of this, what you're hearing from what my source are reporting is, yes, he has just think about it. We have things called emergency funds, slush funds, whatever you want to call them, that the judge is saying, go release it and give it to the people. And they know psychologically that if they go right now during the holidays and release these SNAP benefits, then the pain from the government shutdown is not going to be felt the same way. They know that if they make an announcement that they're going to pay back all these furloughed people, that when they get back, they know that pain is not going to be the same way. They need to make the pain to such a degree that when you're standing there and just think about it, you go to Harvard, you go get a government job, and now you're literally sitting there thinking about how you have to feed your family at a food bank. So the psychological happens is when you're starving to that point, and all of a sudden I give you that piece of bread or I give you that little piece of food, all of a sudden you are so grateful, you start forgetting about the pain, who really caused the pain, which was you to begin with. And this is what's happening right now. And that's the scary part, is because they're bringing our country to its knees to be able to then give like half the SNAP benefits, or start giving a little bit for you to forget who really caused the pain and start thinking, because psychologically we're human beings, are, oh, thank you for this, thank you for that piece of bread because we're surviving now. And this is the person that saved us, not that he's the one that really caused it. And that's the psychological game that they're playing right now and forcing
It,
us.
it you know it's even worse. It's even worse, and I think it's important for people to realize the mindset, the ideology. This is ingrained within the right wing mindset. Even Mitt Romney, if you remember that leaked video when he was running for president, right? The way they look at the rest of Americans, 40% of Americans, if I remember the number correctly, is that we're just moochers, we're just takers. You should see how they talk about people who need SNAP benefits. Tommy Tuberville, right? Just mocking us, the racism, crack babies, right? So for them, the cruelty is the point. But not only that, they literally think, hey, work harder. If you worked harder, you'd be like me. Not mentioning the fact they might have been born in the wealth, or they have billionaire trust fund friends, or they got bailed out, or they failed up in life, or they say things like, stop buying an iPhone. You don't need an iPhone. Or they say things like, oh, why does your kid need to have a Coke? They don't need Coke. At least Marie Antoinette said, let them eat cake. They won't even give us cake. That's
Yeah.
how extreme and cruel the MAGA movement is. Because even in Europe, folks, the right wing movements, they're smart enough to know, okay, we'll give them some safety net, right? We'll give them something. We'll be authoritarians like Orban. He goes, all right, I'll try to help out some families here. But the Republican Party says, nah, you work, get sick, and die. And that type of cruelty is happening in real time, where they did a Great Gatsby party, a Roaring Twenties party, as people are literally starving. And I really think a lot of people said, Lev, oh, they're just deliberately being cruel. I get it. They're deliberately performing. But when Donald Trump was asked about it, he goes, well, don't people have 401ks? I think there is a callous disregard, a type of a cruel ignorance where he literally, Lev, is so disconnected from people, he didn't even realize how it would look, because he's the same man who apparently has just discovered the word groceries. I hope I made sense. Like, I think they did that party not even caring or even realizing how bad it would look, because they're like, oh, whatever, we're rich.
It's and I'm going to tell you something, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but it's really, and I'll give you some points of what it said. He doesn't think it's cruel enough. He doesn't think it's bad enough. As bad as you think everything, he truly believes right now, he's still angry at Pam Bondi. He's still angry at Cash Patel. He's still pissed off at, our Dan Bongino, that he's pissed off at a lot of people, and still that certain people are still not being arrested, indicted, and that there's per war. He's upset at ICE. He said that on 60 Minutes when they asked him about ICE. They said, do you see how all these attacks, people getting dragged off the streets? Don't you think this is too cruel? And what did he say? No, it's not. It's not bad enough. We need to get
Not
even.
bad enough.
We need to get even worse. We need to, So this is the mindset. So that's what people need to understand what we're dealing with. I mean, this is a person that's building monuments to himself. This is a person that's building bunkers. He's building, just think about, this is the incredible perception during a government shutdown, during when people are standing in food banks, during the holidays. All of this is happening. I mean, if he was really for the people, for all the people, the $300 million he raised, think about how much people he could have fed instead of building that.
40, how about 40 billion to Mile?
Or
40 billion.
billion to Millie, because that's his guy, because that's the far right movement that they're trying to control all over the guy. And so, and just when he turns around and he says, if we need to, we could find money for this, we could find money. They know where it all is. He's just showing you, and that's where I think we need to do, as a, I don't know, as a society, as a country, as an independent journalist, and that's why I keep screaming, Waj, and I know you keep saying that we need to keep the focus on all these things that are happening. Like, one of these things I keep talking about is, I was speaking to Hunter Biden like a week ago, and I was saying to him, I say, just think about what we did to you. Think about how small of a comparison to what you could have possibly did as bad as what Don Jr. and Eric are doing right now. But look at the difference. We had a main campaign. We had surrogates all over. We had social media, with the media, with everybody. We were pushing propaganda and turning the Biden's life upside down. I said, we don't have, except for maybe a headline once every 2, 3 months, talking about how the Trumps made 5 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion. Why are we having investigative social media, pundits out there every day exposing how the Trump machine is making money all over social media, on X? Don't run away from X. Go on X, build a major account, invest some money into social media, put it all over TikTok, all over, keep Marjorie there. What I'm saying to you is the message. What we keep talking about, we need to keep it moving, because, the more people that see it, that is how it will stop them, because that is how they control the narrative. And that's why I'm hoping today is a big start to, enough talking and let's do some action, because I know, we have these great, King's Day parades every 3 4 months where we see 7 million people, 10 million people show up, and then quietness again till the next one. We see all this. So I hopefully today, with these early elections, and again, I want to also mention, a lot of people, sometimes mention this is a good example of how every election is important, especially when your governors, your state election, everything, because now we're starting to see who is our first line of protection. Because who protects us? The governors are, with the National Guard, with the election integrity. Because when 2026 comes around, some of these people that we're putting into office are going to be on the front line, making sure that we're able to have our lines of integrity. The same thing when it goes down the line to your school authorities. These are the people that are going to protect us from Project 2025
Yep.
when they try to install and do different information or erase the way history is. That is why I think the one thing we are learning is, because as a country, we wouldn't come out and tell, yeah, presidential elections, everybody comes out, great. But now we're starting to understand it starts from the bottom, and each election is extremely important, from your county to your state to your governor race. And that's why it's important, I think, today that we're starting to come out with action and not enough talk. Now it's time to do.
I think there'll be a referendum, folks. There's different ways to respond, but look, voting does help. And if it could create a bulwark, then so be it. You have a race also in Pennsylvania, very important race. It went under the radar, where the right wing is throwing millions of dollars because it could
Mm.
completely flip the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, 3 seats. So if you're in Pennsylvania, vote for those judges. They're given millions of dollars. But what we saw is Elon Musk gave $20 million to flip the Wisconsin Supreme Court, failed. He lost by double digits. I think they're going to lose in Pennsylvania with the Supreme Court. I think they're going to lose in New Jersey with the governor. I think they're going to lose with Mamdani in a big way, which is going to shockwaves for the
Virginia.
entire establishment, including Democrats, because Schumer still hasn't friggin' endorsed him. It's political malpractice, Lev. I don't care what you think. I don't care.
No,
He is your
listen.
guy.
I
He's a
agree with you.
Democrat.
I listen. Listen. The one thing I'm going to again say to everybody is, like it or dislike it. We this is what makes America great. The people are going to vote. The people are going to speak. If the people of New York City want to put in Mandami as their mayor, they have the right to do it. If I don't like it, I can move on. I don't have to vote. This is the beauty of what America is about. You can't turn around and say, I don't like him, so I'm going to figure out how I could get him deported and take a look how I could indict him, how to arrest him because I don't agree with his policies. Because, that's exactly like you said. What did Donald Trump do? He ran on the same policies. So it's incredible to see the double standards, but it is going to be fascinating to watch it. I look forward to plenty of
It's
conversations
going to
about
be a
what
huge.
once Mandami does win, because I think we're gonna enter a time period. We're gonna see things that are going to happen, and I think we all, as a country, need to stand up, because this is going to because Donald Trump, they're not gonna leave it alone. I could promise you that they are not gonna leave it. They will do everything in their power. New York is a big one, so it's going to be, again, like I said, I don't have a crystal ball in front of me, but watching such far one way and the other, take, it's I never thought that growing up in America, I would see a day like we're seeing the stuff happening out today. But we say that every day, Waj. Every day is like Groundhog's Day. It's every day we say we can't believe that the last day was worse than the previous day, and it is. It's incredible.
It's a referendum. It's going to be a referendum on the status quo, on the establishment, and also on Donald Trump. Let's see, inshallah. There's a few hours left. I'm in the West Coast right now, traveling. I have a speech later today at the Commonwealth Club with Gil Duran on how to fight fascism. The title is "How to Fight Fascism with Heart, Humor and Hummus." Heart for empathy, humor as a sword and a weapon, to mock fascists, also as catharsis, to be joyful warriors, and hummus in celebration of diversity, and a multiculturalism, which is an enemy of the mono story of fascism that demands subservience or death. So that'll be tonight. But folks, there's a massive election happening, massive elections. Please vote. That's one way you could fight back against fascists. The other way, like Lev said, is in the streets. You have to be visible, and there's people in the streets marching. Show them that there's more of us, and we're not afraid. Courage is contagious. It goes a long way. Third way is boycotts. They've worked, man. That's the only reason that ABC brought back Jimmy Kimmel. The boycotts worked. And then also, Lev said, put your story out there, put your story out there, put your story out there. I agree. Allison Gill of Mueller, she wrote a breakdown. She kept saying, take out your cameras. I think the more and more people see the ICE overreach, the more they're pissed off. The more and more people see people joyfully protesting, the better it is. And the more and more people give their story, I want to just read these two things, show the difference between the cruelty, the absolute cruelty of MAGA versus what people are going through. This is a quote of Russell Vought. Russell Vought is a co-author of Project 2025. He's the head of the OMB. He is, some many say, the shadow president, him and Stephen Miller, right? The shadow president, the bureaucratic shadow president. He said this, quote, "We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. When they wake up in the morning, we want them to not to go to work because they're increasingly viewed as villains. We want their funding to be shut down. We want to put them in trauma." He said that last year. And then I want you just to know what's happening in Virginia. A Virginia voter, quoted by CNN, young black woman, quote, "I have a bunch of family members that have been affected by the shutdown. They're not able to afford daycare for their kids, still having to go to work, still trying to find a way to put food on the table. That inspired me to vote for Abigail Spanberger. She wants to put Virginia first, and that's something I strongly believe in. They F themselves. The shutdown might actually give the Democrats a trifecta. I think they've overreached. Folks, I think cracks are showing. I have no eyes in the sky. I'm not a Pollyanna. I think things are going to get much worse before they get better. But you have to pounce on this. Attack them. Attack them. Divide and conquer with MAGA. Fuentes and Tucker and Candace and MTG versus Mark
Or
Levin, Warren Loomer, right, and Ben Shapiro. You show them the videos of ICE agents terrorizing people. Like organize, boycott, speak out, and finally, if you can, support independent media. I don't think you're going to get this type of robust conversation and bluntness, sadly, anymore in corporate media, which has now been gobbled up by the complicit partners of Donald Trump, David Ellison, Larry Ellison. You see it, folks. You see it. You see what CBS has become. You see what Washington Post has become. And this is no knock on people there still doing good work, but it's inevitable, Lev. You see them all bending the knee to Donald Trump, Tim Apple, Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. It's sad. CNN, pathetic. So support Lev, support people like me. Lev remembers that's his Substack. Lev, how can people support you?
Well, Love Remembers is my Substack. Also, you can Love Remembers on YouTube. But just to add to what Wash was saying is, I've decided also. I'm not only I'm not talking. We're going to do a lot of action. I'm putting together, and I'm going to be speaking, reaching out to you, Wash, offline to telling you some of the game plan. And I know you'll be joining our team. But we are putting a united front together, and I'm going to go attack MAGA where it hurts. We're going to actually put into a coalition into action of. Putting surrogates together, of putting investigative reporters. We're gonna keep the eye. We're gonna give them a little taste of what we did to you to the Bidens and to the Democrats, and from 2016 to 2020 and then the 2024. We're gonna give them a little taste of their own medicine. I know where to hit them. I know how to pull the strings, and I'm going to do it. So just subscribe, stay alert. I'll be letting you know the next plan in motion. But we're going to be doing it soon, Wash. And I promise you, we're going to put a hurting on them. I have some things up my
We
sleeve.
got it. We have to go on offense.
Yeah, you
Courage
go.
is contagious, and so is hope, folks. And we have the numbers. Thank you all for joining. This is the Left Hook. I'm joined by Lev. Everything is free on the Left Hook because I'm a terrible capitalist. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you can become a paid subscriber, please do. It goes such a long way. And I'll be back in 5 minutes with Hannah Geis. I really recommend, folks, if you have some time. She is a researcher at the Southern Poverty Law Center. They've been on top of the Groypers. They've been on top of this black pill accelerationism. They've been on top of these neo Nazis that have taken over MAGA and the young GOP. So I really wanted her on. I'm so glad she said yes because she has all the data. This is what they do. And so she's going to connect the dots for what we're about to witness, folks. Because again, they ain't going away. They aren't outliers. These folks have taken over the youth of the GOP. This is the future. After Trump, These are the people we're going to have to deal with, folks. So we're going to talk about that, how they're radicalized online, what their end game is, what their ideology is, and how the MAGA is using them, and vice versa. That'll be up in 5 minutes. And for those who joined us late, the 1600 folks, we're going to have this conversation up on my Substack, the Lev Took, and Lev Substack, Lev Remembers. Thank you all for joining. Be kind, be decent. Go vote. Go vote in Virginia, in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, in New York. Go vote, go vote, go vote. It could be a very historic day. Thanks, Lev.
Thank you, Waj. Be safe. Take care, brother.
Bye.